Okay, guys, it is time to finally share my college portfolio from 2021. Ignore the fact that it's 2025 and I graduated last May. Since graduating, I've been wanting to hit everything my bucket list of things I've always wanted to do, and a college portfolio video is one I've been wanting to do for years. When I was in 7th grade and had my first crisis of what I wanted to pursue for the rest of my life, these were the sorts of videos that I would be watching for hours. So it, in a way, has always been a goal of mine to make one myself and be a frame of reference for someone who was like me, like 14 years old, 12 years old, however old I was. I wanted to make this video very brief and precise, so to run it down, I'm going to be sharing the context of the time I was making my portfolio, the portfolio format I followed, my portfolio itself, the results, and why I went for the school I did. Honestly, as it has been for years, there are going to be gaps in my knowledge, and especially as over the years I understand that requirements for college portfolios change, but maybe you can still take something away from it and my reflections on the other end as someone who has graduated years later. So, the context of when I was making my portfolio, I was preparing for college in the good year 2020. As we all know, this was the peak year of when everything was simple and fine and cool. What the heck? It was COVID year. So every expectation I had from my research and preparation was completely thrown out of the window. I was preparing during the pandemic, which honestly may make this portfolio a little bit less of a good advice thing because it was just so different. So for frame of reference, when I was applying, there were no SAT scores required. I don't know if that's still required. And all of my application forms were waived, either because it was COVID or because I'm in a low enough income bracket. So I went ham. Here are all the schools I applied to, and I only paid the fee for CalArts, actually. Because it was also the pandemic, this also made it hard to, as you can imagine, observationally draw. I had to rely a lot on online videos as you couldn't go outside. So I will say over the years, I've gotten pretty good at drawing people with masks. It is still a definite technical lacking of mine to draw the noses and mouths underneath, honestly. So the portfolio contents itself, I understand that it's really hard to really know where to begin with this. So I went ahead and followed the Art Center prompts for their entertainment design animation requirements. They say to submit a 20 to 25 page portfolio that demonstrates your passion for an animation with an original story for an animated short film, feature film, or television show. So essentially a pitch, and this is something I could follow, and it would center your visual art around a narrative. So you have the story pitch, a concise 1 to 2 sentence synopsis of a storyline that will be the basis of your portfolio, 3 character designs with a whole sheet and everything, 5 illustrations conveying story beats, and storyboards to show the composition and cinematography through storyboard panels and etc. And then it also suggests if you have an animation reel. Some other schools also require that, but as you are applying to learn animation, it wasn't always the peak thing. It also requested 6 to 8 figure drawings from a live model and 3 to 4 pages from your sketchbook. I see nowadays that there is something for 3D work. That is not something I ever touched while I was in high school. So this is what I was mainly running off on. But yeah, overall, animation schools, at least when I was applying, would ask for about 20 images, and depending on which, about 8, or who knows, 4 of those would be observational drawing. So here are the resources I used online when I didn't have places to draw observational drawings. And as you can see, I was applying to like 20 schools, which was 19 more schools than I really had to. So it was really important that I stay organized on top of all the portfolio requirements. So spreadsheets. Here's my portfolio spreadsheet for the requirements so I could see which schools overlap. Here's my spreadsheet for the essays that were required for each school, which was, like 15 more essays that I needed to write. And at the end, I will go over my spreadsheet for the schools I got accepted to. I also had a resume, but we don't need to go over that because it was pink paper with white text. You could just imagine. Okay, so for the actual contents of my portfolio, as implied by my portfolio requirement spreadsheet, each school required slightly different variants on amount of images and amount of observational drawings. So what I ended up doing is that I made a general portfolio with all the art I could pull from, and then after that made additional folders specifically curating the portfolio I wanted to apply for each school. Which, frame of reference, is also a really good tactic to have after school applying for jobs. You have a general portfolio, and you always want to tailor your portfolio to the job or the studio that you're applying for. So, good tactic to have. So let's actually go over the art center pieces first, because that was the one that I made specific pieces for. So I ended up developing this story concept called Fathoms. This was the kind of log line I created for it. A city inhabited by fish people and other aquatic hybrids finds itself facing mysterious metallurgic explosions of metal buildings in the area. At the same time, garbage man Fisher Lee finds himself over the care of mysterious extraterrestrial siblings Lem and Orby, while learning to accept unexpected choices and consequences on top of existential dread. In retrospect, this makes no sense. This has no story. As you can see in the story beats here, it ends in like a to be continued thing, which is simply not a story. The storyboards I did were more like story beats too, because I don't think I had any sense of what a narrative was. In retrospect, the storyboards I'm looking at, they convey a pretty good composition and acting on a baseline level, but a lot of them don't convey any larger sense of space or, really allowing space for the storyboard itself to breathe. So, but I used value, but I think that it at least has a very good start in showing that I have a vision in how I wanted to convey a story. But I'm looking at some of these, it's like, this doesn't make sense. Here are the character designs. This is our lead, Fisher. I think this was like a kind of fish underwater themed thing. You can see he has like weird fins. It's kind of cute. Orby, he was the extraterrestrial little guy. I think his whole thing is just being a little guy. The illustrations are actually pretty cute. I think I made all of these in Photoshop. Lem, which is Orby's sister. Kind of like the cat ears going on here. That's kind of cute. Here's a lineup I did. I think we got like these two kind of like security fish guards. It got a mix of fish and regular people. I think it's pretty good. It shows a variety of body types, heights, ages, shape languages. It shows variety and just like a widespread character design. Oh, here are the illustrations I did. This one I put everywhere in my portfolio. It was just the biggest piece I did. In retrospect, the rendering is pretty rough, but I remember being really proud of this. You had like my lighting there. I think that orb is supposed to be Orby. And then the rest are very rough, but I think that they were more kind of convey like a style for this thing. I have no idea what's going on here. I think he's a trash man, so he's flying above the buildings in town. I like how I did the clouds. I got this almost sense of a composition by having this swoopy thing go on here. This one, I think, was supposed to be a point of being like, why do you have these human creatures in here? I don't know. It just seems emotionally intense. Like, look at this baby fish. It's totally giving parents are having a divorce. I think that fish lady, which is the silhouette here, is supposed to be his girlfriend. I can't look too deeply into... I haven't seen these in so long. Okay, don't look too deeply into the story, but it looks like I had something about sending the kids away on the train. Okay, so story beats. Look, we have at least something going on here. This was the last story beat. Okay, clearly this extraterrestrial creature is very, very powerful. I remember putting this all over my portfolio too. I was really inspired by Akira explosion. So I think that this one's pretty solid for, its value, its sense of movement, it's leading your eye to the thing. Cute. Definitely rough on the rendering, but I was going for it. Let's see. Oh, here are actual storyboards. Okay. Yeah. I think as someone who didn't know anything about storyboards, these weren't as bad. It's very interesting right now to look at these in retrospect and know more storyboarding principles, but back then I was treating it more of like a comic. And, for a comic, I think that these are like pretty okay. They don't focus at all on establishing the space and all that. But I think that this is pretty good for a start. But there's definitely a lot that you learn while in school. Okay, it's not bad. Oh, here's a Wicked lineup. I read Wicked over the pandemic, the book version, so I did a lineup of that. The characters are very different from the movie. Big fan. I did a lineup. And then here are my observational drawings, which I did through the online resources I had. So that's how you get a really weird mix of getting a bunch of random animals plus feet pics, I guess. Yeah, they're not bad, but definitely I did have a very big lack on what I could teach myself. Drawings of my family, animals. I think I did these in like a large 18 by 24 piece sheet of paper with some kind of like charcoal pencil, so I still had that. This piece was the only actual live drawing piece I did for my portfolio. I was starting to take a class right before the pandemic hit, and this was a very awkward perspective of someone for me to draw anyways. So not bad, yeah. Kind of just showing that I could see something in front of me and just translate it onto paper. Feet, pick, look away, sorry YouTube. Sketchbook pages! Okay, these are actually kind of cute. I think I did this on a moleskin. The bottom left two were done in gouache. Got some drawings of my dog that I did in microns. Did those like observational room things. Birds, very cute. And then quails to the right with a little walk cycle. Yeah, I think it's a good scattershot mix of drawing things. Take what you will. So that was Art Center one, but as for the general one, I included some extra illustrations that didn't follow this narrative. Here are some of them below. Yeah, just the general, just showing that I like to do art. I did some webcomics over the pandemic too. One of them, Laundry Day, was a short story put on Webtoon. I included some bits from that, of some panels I liked that showed my sense of narrative and movement. I included my silk screens. I took a silk screen program in high school, so I shared some of my favorites with that. Very ambitious silk screens. Some illustrations I did. You know, at least if it was a pandemic, I had a lot of free time. Here's another gouache piece. This one's kind of cute. And here's another story idea I had. I think in high school I only had vague senses of stories I wanted to convey. But as you can see, I'm starting something with here with like showing acting, composition, value. Basic stuff that I think overall a portfolio just aims to just show that you have high interest and ambition in the subject. You're willing to dip your toes into anything related to potentially get animation done. This is a very pandemic era thing, you know, sitting inside, baking bread, canceling plans, waving to neighbors. Very funny. Here's another illustration. Oh, and then some of them require a reel. Not all of them, because not everyone has a chance to try animation. I did have a full ride to go to Minneapolis that summer that was canceled, so I did take an online class on animation where we did a thing. So I do have a reel. This was my film reel that I submitted. All of the pieces, most of them I think were made during the MCAD 1 week animation program, which is pretty good to at least start dipping my toes. Wow, got some animatics in there. I think the biggest thing with animation reels is just showing that you have pen mileage. I think it's just a big thing. In animation, you have to draw a lot, and this is what causes a lot of people to not stick around as much. Oh, here's a puppet thing. I did a puppet thing in drama class. It was Avatar, but all of the elements were different forms of water. That's funny that I put that in there. Video editing. But yeah, pen mileage is usually the reason why a lot of students don't stick around as much. Okay. So just showing that you just like to draw a lot and grow a lot, I think will really benefit your portfolio. What the heck is this? Oh my god. My Cowlitz portfolio included slightly more observational drawing. I have a plein air piece. I have some storyboards I tried doing from Children of Blood and Bone, which was a book I read during the pandemic and really enjoyed. I think that just covers everything. And I also did the Cowlitz sketchbook, which I definitely rushed and can't be very proud of. But if you guys are interested in seeing that too, I could just make a separate video where I honestly haven't reviewed that book in years, so just to go over it and kind of, as I am doing now, lightly roasting what I was doing as I was applying. Anyways, here are the colleges I got accepted to, which was nice. Here is my copy of my portfolio requirements, so I was able to this way rank the schools I actually wanted to go to. So as you can see, I kind of have like a top 7 and all of their portfolio requirements. Okay, so you apply to 20 schools, you submit like 15 essays, you have so many options of how your life can be shaped. Which school do you end up choosing? Here's the thing. I knew from the beginning, since 7th grade, that was when I was like 12 years old, that I wanted to go to SVA. So my decision was clear-cut from the beginning. it makes sense to ask. So why apply to 19 schools? That's like 15 less essays I could have written. I think for the 17-year-old I was then, college was the goal I'd set myself for the last 5 years. I think I just wanted to go big or go home. I feel like I didn't deserve any prize if I didn't at least make it a challenge, which is very funny. I think animation generally is a major of overachievers, so if my college application journey doesn't reflect that, then who would I be? So, reflections. College applications aren't the end of life. This is just something I say for something that the 12-year-old in me would want to know. I had worked towards my college applications for 5 years, 5 to 6 years in that case. And once I got into school, I was like, what now? So it can be an insanely stressful time because you're like, oh my gosh, the college that I get into can determine the rest of my life. But there is a life that happens during college and after college that you are fully in charge of shaping. The college that you choose absolutely depends on a variety of your own things, like your financial status and specifically the job that you want to have and the resources the school offers to help you along the way. But it's not the end of the world. Having graduated, I've met so many people who went to so many different schools who reflect in so many different qualities of their education. At the end of the day, what matters is how much you're willing to teach yourself and go after the things that you want to do. So it's so stressful. I totally understand that. It was one of the most stressful and anxiety-inducing times of my life. But I'm graduated now, and I know that there's just so much more beyond college. And especially with the internet, maybe you don't go to college. Totally fine. But I do understand that there was a moment in my life where like, this is what's going to shape me. I hope you guys can take something away from my college portfolio. My reels that I made during college are up on my YouTube if you want to see how much I've grown since then, and I've grown a lot. And if you guys are interested, I do have my rejected college sketchbook from CalArts, because that was just a school I knew I wasn't going to get into with the resources I had to study and understand anatomy. And I also have the 4 sketchbooks that I finished my freshman year of college that I'd also love to make a video about eventually. I don't know. I've rambled so long for this one, but this was a video that has been a long time in the making. Let me know what you think, and I'll do my best to answer any questions in the chat. But for more specific ones, since I mentioned the process changes year from year, it might just be best to contact the admissions office. It's their job to answer any questions and constantly monitor their inboxes, so you should definitely ask while you can. And now that I've graduated from animation school, guess what I have? Student loans. Oh my gosh. And now that I'm a full-time freelance animator, it's definitely a whole different boat of financially surviving after that. So if you want to help me pay for my student loans or just see what independent projects I'm up to now, you can, subscribe to my Patreon. Totally don't have to. It's a free category if you just want to just see some art I make before I put it up on my Instagram or YouTube, or just to see what else I'm up to. I don't know. Say hi. Hope this helps. Bye!